And there's been a lot of them, a whole bunch of nurses who have just been let go. Now, here in New York, and in other parts of the country as well, they're now saying that they're bringing in, well, actually, I believe today in New York, it was supposed to happen, because it was supposed to be at midnight yesterday that they all got fired, that they're bringing in medically trained National Guard to take those jobs. So there you go. Sounds like a great plan. Couldn't possibly go wrong. Weird fucking times, man. Weird times.
I don't know that they'll last indefinitely. It's like we're kind of at the bluff stage here.
Yeah, it does feel that way. But it's just another one of those things where you're like, could you imagine that in like March or April of 2020
we'd be firing nurses.
Like, imagine being that nurse, you know, who was like being fucking praised as a hero that whole time, and now is like, you know, oh yeah, that's now you're fired for not taking the fucking vaccine. And I'll tell you, at least I think, and this is maybe a little bit of a white pill, a little bit of a case for optimism, that I think a lot of people, that's really bothering them. I know a lot of people who are really upset about that shit. And because, understandably, and not just because they fucking, you know, like fell for the fucking, you know, all like the propaganda, although I'm sure some of them did fall for some of it, but I think that there's a lot of people who really did buy into the like, hey, these healthcare workers are heroes.
Now what we really need, but it's not going to happen, is the way that the news can go on and on with sad stories, like the way that CNN will do a special after a school shooting, and like they try and make, you know, they try and pull every emotional cord that they possibly can. How many news stories can be done tomorrow of some nurse who not only did patients love her, but is caring for her family, caring for her mom, doesn't have money for rent? Mm-hmm. I mean, how many stories exist right now of people that don't know what the next month of their life looks like? And if that was the coverage, if over the next month, like if this was Donald Trump who just made that order and everyone wants to go, how come this evil person doesn't care about these frontline workers? If there was the political will to just smash somebody and make them look bad, this would be done in 2 weeks.
You know, this is one of Michael Malice's central points that I don't know if I completely agree with him, but he really does have a strong point where he has more contempt for the corporate press than he does for politicians. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit split on that one. But there certainly is an argument to be made that if the corporate press, because like the point you just made me think of this, if the corporate press were the good guys, we would shut this whole thing down in a fucking day. Like, just think about it like this: if the corporate press reported on the fucking babies that are murdered in our wars, the way they reported on Joe Biden's disaster pulling out of the war, if they did that, we'd shut, like, they could easily generate outrage. They're very good at generating outrage. And if they had ever pushed that into the right areas, so many of these policies could just be walked back because it's like just universally like fucking loathed. But yeah, I really do think if something like that happened, they could put enough pressure on them to back it up. I mean, look, do you remember the whole separating families thing at the border? They got Trump to back off of that like pretty quick. Because Americans can only see fucking little kids in cages for so long before they're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, even border hawks are like, look at that and go like, whoa, no. I don't, like, whatever we got to do to not make that happen. Okay, whatever. Whether we're letting them into the country or not letting them in, like there's a 4-year-old, that's his mom, they stay together. We're not separating them. Like, we're just like any person with a shred of humanity would fucking agree with. So like, there's a lot of this shit that you could do, but they won't because they're in service of the regime. And so I get where Malice certainly has a very strong point that even if you don't go all the way and say you have more contempt for them, that they should be right there in the conversation. But you're right. The other thing that really kind of stuck out to me about it was that and I know there's been a lot of examples like with things like this, and I suppose people like me and you are very lucky. I remember this being one of the things that I thought about right away at the beginning of the pandemic. And don't get me wrong, I lost a lot of money due to the COVID regime. I mean, I lost a lot of, like, there were a nice amount of money that I would have much rather had than not had if there hadn't been lockdowns and restrictions and all of this shit. You know, a couple corporate gigs, skank fests, festivals, whole lot of road work, whole lot of stuff that was like, would have been nice. Would have been nice to have. But I am in a situation where it wasn't a major problem, or I'd say it wasn't a devastating problem for me during the lockdowns and all of that other shit. Like, it was like, okay, well, I can still make my fucking podcast. I can still put that out. I can still support my family and all this shit. Me and you are both kind of lucky in the sense that we both have careers that we can navigate around this shit. It's not that there's no sacrifices and, like, you know, whatever, like you can't fucking go to certain places now and I can't go to certain places now, but I remember thinking right away in March of 2020, like, you go like, fuck, man, like, what if you got like 3 kids and you're a cook at a restaurant? You know, what if you got 3 kids and, like, you and your wife just opened a store, you know, and, like, that's it.
Yeah,
and now you're
sell
literally
some of those
just
kids to the Bidens.
Yeah, well, you got to pick your least favorite kid real quick, and or just lease them for sniffing, you know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like all these people who have this real, and so I guess I've not exactly been in this situation, but to see people like this go, no, like, I'm not getting this fucking vaccine. And, like, I don't believe in it for whatever their reason is. It might be like a purely fucking scientific reason. It might be a fucking, you know, a dumb reason. It might be like some irrational fear of the vaccine that isn't actually warranted. I don't even know. I'm just saying, to have the fucking, like, conviction to go, no, I will lose my job over this shit is something to see. And there's been a lot of that. I mean, there's also been a lot of compliance for those reasons, and I understand that. I'm not going to judge anyone who, like, you know, maybe you got a fucking family to support and your job's making you get the vaccine, and maybe you're like, look, I can't just lose my job right now. Like, it's more important to me to fucking make sure my fucking kids are taken care of than to fucking, you know, not take the vaccine. I understand that. I'm not going to judge that person. But there is something pretty incredible about the people who are willing to just be like, no, I won't bend the knee. Even if they were completely wrong. Let's say the vaccine was 100% protection and 0% risk. Maybe it's just my personality or whatever, or my philosophy or my ideology or whatever. But I admire the person saying, like, I will not bend the knee. Like, I will not be forced into doing something I don't want to do.
You know what we need? I just realized this. The current numbers is 90 million people. Or at least last I saw, it was 90 million people unvaxxed, which is, like, in some of these industries, it's like 20% of the workforce. So if all those people hold out within a month, that's not going to work, right? But here's what we really need, actually, is that everyone who vaxxed, who now is looking at this and going, like, what the hell is going on here? We need those people to not be willing to show their cards. That's the game changer. That's what destroys all the numbers, is actually if everyone who is vaxxed, who starts looking at this situation and realizing, like, where the hell is this thing going? Like, I don't think you should be forcing people out of their jobs. We need to educate people about that. Is if you are vaxxed and you're now realizing people should not be fired over this, refuse to give your office your vax card. That's how we ruin the system.
Like, still have this like thing like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, like, you're going to fire these people because they didn't get vaxxed. That's not their choice. I'm not showing you my card. I'm standing with them. Make them figure out who does and doesn't have a vaccine card. Put it on them to figure it out. We need everyone to just be like, this is a corrupt system and I'm not complying with it.
Look, I love that. And I 100% agree with you. And I also think part of that part of getting to that is convincing those people, even the ones who are vaccinated, how ugly a path we're going down,
and we
here,
need, and
why they need to fight against this. Look, dude, Biden,
it's the organized commitment to know, like, I'm not going to be the one person to lose my job. 50% of the workforce is saying no to the force thing. Then it just goes away.
That's right. There's strength in numbers. And well, look, I'll say it like this, right? Biden said the other day, and sure, Biden's a senile old man, and he says stuff, but he's also, I've been told, the president of the United States of America. I'm not completely sure, but that seems to be what is being printed in the newspapers, that Joe Biden is the president of the United States of America. Even as I hear the words come out of my mouth, it sounds ridiculous. But he said the other day that we need, in his estimation, did you hear this? 97 to 98% of the population vaccinated before this thing is over. Okay? So now, of course, also, by the way, Biden just took his third shot with a big mask on. Doesn't that really, nothing says you really want to get your third shot other than seeing a couple of masked people getting their third shot. Anyway, Joe Biden said we need 97 to 98% of the population vaccinated before this is over. I just want to say, I want people to think about this. What level of totalitarianism do you think is required to get 97 to 98% of people vaccinated, and then vaccinated again and again and again, and I guess every 6 months you're going to need to do this? I mean, there is even with fucking companies forcing it, the federal government forcing it, the state governments, the city governments with the vaccine passports, with everything, there is no chance of you getting to 97 to 98%. What you would need to do to get 97 to 98% of people vaccinated, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, you would need to have a complete database with everybody who's vaccinated. You would need to locate and track the people who are not vaccinated, bust down their doors, hold them down against their wills, and shoot them with this shit. That's what you would need. And let me just say this. If you get to the point where we're doing that, COVID is no longer your biggest problem. Now your problem is that we actually live in a fucking nightmare society. And you would take something 5 times worse than COVID over living under that tyrannical of a government.